we have every right as a state to provide protections for employees and businesses to say if they are doing woke training, which is basically discriminating against folks on basis of race, you have right to opt out of that. It's not a question of what the company can say. They can say whatever they want. But you have a right to not have to self-flagellate. You have a right to not have to sit there and listen to that nonsense. And so we were right on that. We're also right in being able to say that the woke agenda is not consistent with what we want in education standards at our taxpayer-funded universities. We have every right to set standards. We have every right to say, here's what we want to do. Here's some of the things that we're not going to do with your tax dollars. But as all these things go, you know, we typically go, I can't count on my hands the number of times they've run in, got a judge to do that, and then we end up winning on appeal. Remember, the one case which I acknowledge was the closest was on the internet censorship, social media censorship. We did this a couple years ago. We did protections for Floridians. They can't discriminate against you and kick you off or censor you just because you're saying things that the big tech companies don't like. You know, they don't want conservative speech as much as they want liberal speech, particularly now that we're in an election cycle. So we just provided protections. We said you can have standards and rules about what you're going to do, but you got to apply it evenly. And if you're applying it with a thumb on the scale against one part, certain viewpoints, then people have a right to be able to have some protection. And, you know, we lost in district court, lost appeal. U.S. Supreme Court has kicked that back now to the district court. And we'll see what happens. I mean, it's probably going to go on and on. The whole gender surgeries for minors. We said not going to fly in Florida. We're not going to allow that to happen. There's a lot of people making a lot of money off this. And you take some teenager and you cut off private parts, and then they get into their 20s and they can't reverse it. And it becomes a big, big problem, and it's not based in science, it's based in ideology. And so the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has already said that states have a right to do this. And even in face of that, we had a judge strike Florida's down. We're going to win that on appeal for sure because the circuit's already ruled on that, and we'll be better off. And many countries are now backtracking off of that because it is motivated by ideology, and it's motivated by a lust for profit and a lust for financial gain, because there's people that make a whole lot of money based off this, and it's really, really been detrimental to so many people. So all these things kind of work out, but the end of the day, we have every right as a state to say that of all the different things you have when you go to work, that you can't be forced to sit there and have to listen to this dribble. You can opt out. They can do it. They can say it. Nothing's being restricted there, but you're right to say, not for me. That should be protected. Same thing with our educational institutions. We have a right to focus on things that are meaningful. We have a right to pursue truth, and we have a right to have standards that say that accordingly. And so, and I think if you look, Columbia University, you look at some of these agencies that we have in government, you look at corporations, some of them, once they get infected and captured by the woke mind virus, the institutions just crumble, and they become hollow shells of what they were supposed to be. And what we're doing when we say where woke goes to die, it's because we don't want our institutions to be infected with woke ideology. We want our institutions to be rooted in truth. We want our institutions to be rooted in what's right. And as long as you're doing that and you're strong on that, you have a chance to do very well. The minute you go into these other things where all of a sudden people get elected district attorney and they release criminals or they refuse to prosecute criminals, crime goes up. Well, actually, the crime statistics don't go up because what they start doing, they stop reporting crimes. So they say, oh, this crime is down in all these cities that everyone's scared to walk down the street in. No, it's not that crime is down. It's that the reporting is down because, first of all, if you get mugged in some of these places, it's not even worth reporting it. There's never going to prosecute somebody for that. There's also the agencies don't want to take in the stuff. So it's not that people are actually safer in those places, but that's a great example. Well, how destructive has that been? with Soros pouring in money to these district attorneys' races, and then all of a sudden the criminals are able to rule the roost in some of our previously greatest cities in this country. It just doesn't work. All the universities, Columbia University, you see some of the nonsense that goes on there. That doesn't fly in Florida, I can tell you that. You want to try to take over, you want to try to commandeer parts of our university, you're going to be ejected from the premises immediately. We're just not going to put up with it. We're not going to let the inmates run the asylum. But part of the reason that's happened in those places is because it's all about ideology. And this is what's happened. So I think that you need to have a solid foundation for everything you do. And if you're just indulging in the latest ideological fad, you just can't succeed over the short, medium, or long term in that respect. And look, some of it is just, it's a reflection of the times we live in. I look at this Olympics opening ceremony, and honestly, like, I wasn't necessarily, I don't get offended. People say things that I disagree with all the time, but I was just sad seeing this. It's like, that was really a symbol of the decline of Western civilization. I don't think on the closing ceremony they're going to do anything where they mock Islam. I don't think that's going to happen. I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that doesn't happen. And so when they're doing that, and they're mocking the Last Supper like that, it just shows that so much of, particularly Western Europe, they've really walked away from the values that once made those countries great. And so we're in that battle here in the United States, and have been for many, many years about are we going to be rooted in truth? Are we going to be rooted in things that have real serious meaning? And, of all the things that you can say is we've put our stake in the ground here in Florida very strong, and people have responded by us being the top destination for people to want to move to. So there you go. Thanks.